The night everything changed began with a sound that did not belong to our village. A sound so deep and unnatural that it rattled the thin metal window of my room. I had heard hyenas before, lions too, even the thunder of an approaching storm, but this was different. It was a growl that seemed to scrape against the earth itself, a sound that rose slowly, like something ancient waking from a long sleep. I froze on my sleeping mat, my breath shallow, my heart beating loud enough that I feared whatever was outside would hear it. For a moment, the entire village went silent. Even the insects stopped buzzing. The air felt thick, pressing against my chest. Then the goats began bleating wildly from the shed behind our house. Something moved outside, heavy, deliberate steps crushing the dried leaves scattered across the yard. I pushed myself up slowly, my palms sweating. That was when I saw it. A massive shadow gliding across my window, tall enough to blot out the moonlight. My throat tightened. I didn't dare scream. I simply crouched lower, staring at the silhouette that moved with a strange, broken rhythm. Each step felt like a warning. Suddenly, the creature let out another low growl, this one sharper, filled with something like pain or anger. The goats slammed into their wooden fence, desperate to escape. I could hear claws scraping. Then a loud crack echoed, and the goats went silent. I couldn't stay inside. If I did nothing, something horrible might happen. I forced myself to peek out through the small slit in the curtain. All I saw was movement, a blur of dark fur and muscle before it slipped behind the trees. But the damage was clear. The fence was broken, the ground torn apart, and 3 of our goats were missing. I stumbled back as my mother's footsteps approached. She burst into my room, her face hard with anger, not fear. "Why are you awake at this hour? Why are the goats screaming? What have you done now?" Her voice cut through the night sharper than the creature's growl. I tried to speak. "Ma, something was outside. A huge animal. It broke the fence." She didn't let me finish. "Stop making stories. Always excuses with you. You think I don't know why you sneak around at night." Her eyes were burning with frustration, exhaustion, and something deeper, something she never said out loud but always carried. "Ma, I'm telling the truth. I saw it. It took the goats." She pushed past me and looked out the door. The broken fence was there, proof carved into the earth, but she refused to believe a creature did it. "Maybe if you came home on time and acted like a responsible son, things wouldn't keep going wrong." She glared at me as if the chaos outside was somehow my fault. The injustice stung more than the fear. I wanted to argue, to defend myself, but the words died on my tongue. She was already convinced I was lying. Inside my chest, something cracked quietly, something that had been fragile for a long time. I looked out at the darkness where the creature had vanished and felt the cold truth sink in. Something dangerous was out there, and no one would believe me until it was too late. The next morning arrived heavy and tense, as if the night's terror had lingered in the air, refusing to fade with the sunrise. The goats were still missing, the fence splintered. The earth clawed open like something had dragged its weight through the yard. Anyone with eyes could see something violent happened here, but in our home, truth didn't matter, only blame did. Mama Nalia stood outside, staring at the damage, her jaw tightening the longer she looked. I hoped just for a moment that she would realize I hadn't lied, but instead, she turned to me with eyes already filled with suspicion. "Where is the money?" she asked suddenly. My heart dropped. "What money?" "The money for your father's medicine. I kept it under my clothes. It's gone." Her voice trembled, but not with fear, only anger. I blinked at her, confused. "Ma, I don't know anything about that. Don't lie to me," she snapped. "Only you knew where I kept it. You've been acting strange for weeks. You come home late, you make excuses. Now goats are missing and money is gone." Her words struck like stones. "Ma, I didn't take anything. Why would I? Because you want to run away," she shouted. "Because you don't care about this family. You want the city, you want your dreams, but who carries this house? Who works every day?" "Me." Her voice cracked, but she kept shouting, each word sharper than the last. Neighbors peeked from their homes. Children stopped playing. My sister Asha stood by the door, tears building in her eyes. My father, too weak to walk far, leaned on the doorway, his face full of quiet pleading but helpless to stop her. I felt heat rising in my chest. Not anger, a deep, bruising ache. "Ma, I swear I didn't take the money. Please just listen. Something was here last night. It wasn't me. Something big." She stepped toward me, finger pointed like a blade. Every time something goes wrong, you blame a shadow, a story, a dream. I am tired, Kato, tired of carrying everything while you pretend to be the victim." Those words cut deeper than any insult before. I tried again, voice trembling. "If you saw what I saw, I don't care what you think you saw. she screamed. "I know what's happening, and I won't let you destroy this family with your lies." Then the words that would change everything came out of her like fire. "Get out. If you can't respect this house, then leave it, go, and do not come back." The world slowed. My breath stopped. My ears rang with disbelief. For a moment, I waited for her to take it back, to realize what she had said. But she didn't. She simply turned away as if banishing me was as simple as closing a door. Asha sobbed softly. My father whispered my name in a broken voice, but my mother, the one whose approval I had tried to earn my whole life, wouldn't look at me. I felt something collapse inside me, the kind of collapse that doesn't make noise, just emptiness. I turned, walked into my small room, and packed the few things I owned. My hands shook the entire time. My heart felt too tight. I paused at the doorway one last time, hoping someone would stop me, but no one did. And so I stepped out into the morning light, leaving behind not just my home but the version of myself who still believed he belonged there. The road out of the village felt longer than it ever had before. Each step I took carried the weight of everything I was leaving behind: my siblings' quiet sobs, my father's helpless eyes, my mother's final words echoing louder than the creature's growl from the night before. I had always dreamed of going somewhere else, somewhere bigger, but not like this, not with shame trailing behind me like a shadow. I walked until the sun was high and my throat felt dry. When I reached the edge of the nearby town, the noise of motorcycles, vendors calling out prices, and hammers clanging against metal swallowed the silence I had carried with me. It was overwhelming, but at least no one here knew me. No one here looked at me with disappointment or suspicion. I found a small mechanic's garage with a rusted sign that read, Sifu's Auto and Metalworks. The owner, Sefu, was a tall man with oil-stained hands and a stern expression that made him look unapproachable. But something about the busy environment, the sparks flying from welding, the engines being rebuilt, pulled me in. "What do you want?" Sefu asked without looking up from the motorcycle engine he was fixing. "I need work," I said quietly. He laughed once, a sharp, doubtful sound. "Boy, everyone needs work. What can you do?" "Anything," I replied, though I wasn't sure if he believed me. He studied me for a moment, then tossed me an oily rag. "Start by cleaning. If you mess it up, you leave, no questions." And that became my new beginning. The days in the town were hard but strangely peaceful. I worked 14 hours a day sweeping metal shavings, sorting tools, carrying heavy equipment. My back ached, my hands blistered, but for the first time in a long while, no one yelled at me, no one accused me. The silence of work felt comforting. Slowly Sefu noticed I wasn't just strong, I was quick, observant. I watched how he repaired engines, how he shaped metal, how he improvised tools from scraps. And one afternoon, when he saw me silently rearranging the carburetor parts in the correct order, he raised an eyebrow. "You've done this before." "No," I answered, "but I've watched you." He grunted something like approval. From that day forward, he allowed me near the machines. I learned fast, absorbing everything like dry soil drinking rain. And within weeks, I could fix small engines on my own. But even as I grew stronger, more skilled, more confident, there were nights when the past refused to release me. I would lie awake in my small rented room above a shop, staring at the ceiling, hearing my mother's voice telling me to get out. I replayed the argument again and again, wondering how everything had gone so wrong so quickly. And then there were the memories of the creature, the towering shadow, the broken rhythm of its steps, the growl that felt ancient. It haunted my dreams, lurking in the corners of my mind. I knew what I saw. I knew it wasn't normal. Some nights, I wondered if the village was safe, if the creature would return, if my family, despite everything, was in danger. But I pushed the thoughts aside. They didn't want me, and I didn't belong there anymore, at least. That was what I kept telling myself. Yet deep down, something whispered that the story wasn't over. Not with the creature, not with my family, not with me. The first sign that something was wrong came on a dusty Thursday afternoon, when a group of traders stopped at Sefu's garage to repair a punctured tire. They looked exhausted, eyes sunken, clothes dusty, voices unusually quiet for men who usually joked loudly while waiting. I handed them water, and one of them stared at me for a long moment before saying, "You look familiar. Where are you from, boy?" I hesitated. "From the lakeside village, near the old mango grove." Their faces shifted instantly, exchanging glances, whispering. The oldest man finally leaned closer. "Have you heard what's happening there?" My stomach tightened. "No." He wiped sweat from his brow and spoke low, as if afraid someone else might overhear. "People say a bad thing is roaming around your side. Animals vanishing. footprints in the soil as big as a man's chest. And last week, old Mama Kiribo's cow was found torn open. The water bottle nearly slipped from my hand. Another man added, some say the elders spoke of an omen, a curse that returns when a family drives away its own blood. My heart hammered inside my chest. I forced a laugh, pretending it was nonsense, but my voice shook. People believe anything these days. But the traders didn't smile. They didn't blink. Their silence said they believed it more than they feared it. When they left, I stood frozen by the workbench, the weight of their words sinking deep into me. A curse. A creature. My village haunted by something dangerous. My family in danger. That night, sleep refused to come. I lay on my thin mattress, staring at the dark ceiling, hearing the traders' voices on repeat. A curse that returns when a family drives away its own blood. Animals vanishing. Footprints bigger than a man's chest. Roaming around your side. The creature I saw, that towering shadow, had not been my imagination. And if it was still in the village, then my siblings, my father, even my mother, angry as she was, they were all living under that threat. But I told myself it wasn't my problem anymore. I told myself they didn't want me. My mother's voice echoed in my head again. Get out and never come back. Yet beneath her harsh words was a memory of better times, her laughter when I brought home fish, her hands tending my scraped knees, her warm voice humming lullabies on stormy nights. It hurt to remember, but it hurt even more to imagine her in danger. Over the next few days, more fragments of news trickled in. A delivery driver mentioned passing by the river and hearing a roar that didn't sound like any leopard or hyena. A boy from a nearby settlement said he saw something dragging a goat into the reeds. A fisherman swore he saw glowing eyes across the water at dawn. Each story chipped away at my resolve, replacing it with dread. Every night after that, I found myself staring eastward, home, toward danger, toward the place that had rejected me. I didn't want to care. I wanted to move forward, build my new life, bury the past. But the fear of what might be happening there kept tightening around my chest, until even breathing felt difficult. And still, I didn't return, not yet, because I had no idea that danger was already much closer than any rumor could describe. And soon, it would come searching for me. The night they found me, I was working late at the garage, tightening the bolts on a stubborn old motorcycle that rattled like it wanted to fall apart. The street outside was unusually quiet. No music from the food stalls. No laughter from the boys who usually played cards on the corner. Even the dogs weren't barking. It was the kind of silence that makes your bones aware of themselves. I was wiping grease from my hands when I heard hurried footsteps. Not one per two. Light, quick, desperate. Before I could turn, someone crashed through the doorway, nearly stumbling over a box of spare parts. Kato. My heart jumped. Asha stood there, breathless, eyes wide and wet with tears. She looked different, older, scared, drained of the brightness she always carried. A second later, Biko squeezed in behind her, his small shoulders trembling. I dropped the wrench. What are you doing here? You're supposed to be home. Asha didn't speak. She just threw her arms around me, sobbing into my shirt. Biko clung to my other side, shaking. The fear in their bodies told me more than any words could. Tell me what happened, I said, voice firm but shaky, guiding them to sit on the bench. Asha wiped her face. It's real, Kato. Everything you said. The creature. It's real. Her voice cracked. 2 nights ago, it almost got me. My blood turned cold. Biko nodded violently. It came near the house. We heard it breathing. Father was so scared he tried to stand, but he fell. And Mama hasn't slept. She cries all the time now. The image of my strong, sharp-tongued mother crying felt impossible. Asha squeezed my hand harder. She knows she was wrong, she whispered. She knows you didn't take the money. A thief confessed in another village. But the message reached us late. Ma hasn't forgiven herself. I felt something twist deep inside me. Hurt, sadness, all tangled together. Then the footsteps came again. Slow, uneven, hesitant. A figure appeared at the doorway, barely holding herself upright. Mama Nalia. Her eyes were swollen, her clothes dusty from travel, her breath coming in painful gasps. She looked smaller somehow, as if the weight of everything had crushed her spirit. For a moment, she just stared at me. Her lips trembled, but no words came out. I stood frozen, not knowing whether to step toward her or away from her. Finally, she sank to her knees. Kato. Her voice broke like a fragile pot hitting stone. Forgive me. I was blind. I was stupid. I let anger speak for me. Tears spilled freely down her cheeks. Please, please come home. Your father is sick. The creature is killing our animals. People blame us. And I cannot sleep, knowing what I said to you. I had imagined apologizing to her many times growing up. I had imagined her apologizing to me exactly 0 times. Seeing her kneeling on the cold cement felt wrong, like the world had tilted out of place. "Ma, get up," I whispered. But she only sobbed harder. "We need you, Kato, not just the village, we need you. I need you. Please come home. If you don't, we won't survive what's coming." The words hit me like a storm. The mother who told me to never return was now begging me to come back, and despite the pain, despite everything, I felt the truth settle heavily inside my chest. I had no choice, because something far darker than anger was haunting my family, and it wasn't going to stop unless I faced it. The journey back to the village felt unreal, as if I were walking into a story someone else had written for me. Asha stayed close on my left, Biko on my right, and Mama walked a few steps behind us. Quiet, as if every word she might say would break her again. The air grew colder the closer we got to home, the wind carrying a strange heaviness, as if even the trees knew something was wrong. When the first cluster of huts appeared through the tall grass, I noticed immediately how different everything looked. Doors were bolted shut even though it was daylight. No children played outside. No chickens wandered freely. The entire village felt abandoned, suffocated by fear. As we walked, a few villagers peeked from behind curtains and mud walls. Their eyes widened when they saw me, as if I were some long-lost heir returning to reclaim a ruined throne. Some whispered my name. Others crossed their arms for protection, muttering blessings under their breath. I wasn't sure whether they were afraid of me or grateful I had returned. When we reached our compound, I stopped in my tracks. The fence was freshly repaired, but deep claw marks still slashed across the wooden posts like reminders of something monstrous. The ground was torn up in places, as though something enormous had dragged its body across the earth. It was worse than I imagined. Inside the house, Father Musa lay on a mat, weak and pale. His eyes lifted slowly when he heard my footsteps, and when he recognized me, something warm and fragile flickered in them. "Hope. My son," he whispered, his voice rough with illness. I knelt beside him, taking his frail hand in mine. "I'm here, Baba." His fingers squeezed weakly. "It comes every night now." His breath trembled. "Your mother tries to keep the lanterns lit, but the thing, it waits. It watches." A shiver crawled across my spine. After helping him drink water, I stepped outside to inspect the yard more carefully. I wanted answers, needed them. Every instinct in me screamed that whatever stalked this village wasn't supernatural. Something this physical, this powerful, left signs. My eyes scanned the ground until I found them. Enormous footprints in the mud. Deep and uneven, shaped like an animal but dragging along one side like one leg was injured. The depth of the prints told me its weight was massive. And then something even stranger caught my attention. In the deepest print, the mud had dried in a way that revealed faint metallic scratches. Metal. That didn't belong. Asha came up beside me. "Do you see something?" I crouched lower. "Yes, but I need to see where these prints lead." They formed a path toward the forest at the far end of the village, a dark wall of tangled branches and shadows. The villagers whispered about that forest as if it were alive with curses, but I knew better. Danger rarely came from magic. It came from things people didn't understand. As I stepped toward the edge of the trees, the wind shifted, carrying a sharp, musky scent like wet fur, mixed with something burned. Something was watching. The hairs on my arms rose. I could feel eyes on me from somewhere deep within the shadows. Heavy, slow breathing drifted out from the darkness. A low growl followed. A growl I recognized. The same one that scraped the air outside my window. The night everything fell apart. My pulse hammered, but I stood my ground. Whatever hunted my family had just realized I was back, and it wasn't afraid. Not anymore. Night fell faster than usual, as if the sky itself didn't want to witness what was coming. Clouds swallowed the moon, and the darkness settled over the village like a thick blanket. Every lantern was lit, every door barred, but everyone knew it wouldn't stop the creature. It never had. Inside our house, the air felt tight with fear. Asha sat beside Father, whispering prayers. Biko paced restlessly, jumping at every creak of wood. Mama tried to act strong, but her trembling hands betrayed her. I could feel her eyes on me, full of regret, full of hope she didn't dare speak aloud. I checked the trap I'd built again and again. It wasn't much, just a mechanism made from scrap metal, rope, and a pulley weighted by stones, but it was all I had. The idea had formed the moment I saw the metallic scratches in those footprints. This wasn't a spirit. It wasn't some cursed phantom. It was an animal, injured, desperate, dangerous, but still bound by instinct. And instinct could be predicted. A sudden thud outside made everyone freeze. Then, another dot, slow, heavy, the same broken rhythm I had heard that first night. Mama clasped her hands over her mouth to stop herself from crying out. The walls of the house seemed to pulse with each step the creature took, as if the very earth recognized its presence. I motioned for silence and moved toward the door. "Katono," Mama whispered, grabbing my arm. I gently pulled free. "If we don't stop it tonight, it will keep coming." She searched my face desperately. "You're just a boy." "No," I said quietly. "I stopped being a boy the night you threw me out." The truth stung both of us. She looked away, ashamed. I stepped outside. The night was alive with sound, crickets buzzing, leaves rustling, but underneath it all came the low, dragging breath of the creature. A shape moved between the trees, too large to be anything known in the village. My heart pounded, but I forced myself forward, leading it away from the house and toward the open space where I had prepared the trap. The lantern I placed there flickered weakly, casting long shadows. I positioned myself behind a thick tree trunk, rope in hand, ready to trigger the counterweight. Branches cracked. The beast emerged. Even in the dim light, its outline was monstrous: broad shoulders, a hunched back, matted fur caked with mud and blood, one of its legs dragged behind, the metal trap of old hunters still clamped around it. That explained the scratches, the uneven gait. The creature wasn't cursed. It was suffering. Its eyes burned a deep amber, wild and desperate. It limped toward the lantern, drawn by the light exactly as I predicted. My hands tightened on the rope. Another step. The ground trembled. Another step. The lantern flickered. Another. I pulled the rope hard. The counterweight snapped free. The ropes tightened and the mechanism sprang forward. Wooden beams swung down from two sides, crossing in front of the creature and trapping it inside a makeshift cage. The beast thrashed violently, roaring with pain and fury. The entire structure shook under its strength. I held my breath, praying it would hold. The villagers, awakened by the noise, emerged cautiously with torches. Gasps rippled through the crowd as they saw the creature trapped. Not by magic, not by elders, but by something far simpler and far stronger. Understanding. Mama ran to me, tears streaming down her cheeks. "You saved us," she whispered, voice breaking. But I didn't feel like a savior. I just felt relieved, because for the first time, the monster wasn't the thing in the cage. It was everything that had lived inside us: fear, ignorance, anger. And tonight, we had finally faced it. Dawn arrived slowly, as if unsure whether it was safe to return. The sky shifted from deep blue to pale gold, and the first rays of sunlight touched the village like a hesitant blessing. People gathered around the trapped creature, whispering in fearful awe. In the daylight, its true form became clearer: not a demon, not a curse, but a wounded animal pushed to madness by pain and hunger. Its fur was matted and patchy, ribs showing beneath its massive frame. The old metal trap clamped around its leg had rusted into the flesh, twisting the wound into a permanent source of agony. Its amber eyes, wild at night now, looked almost tired, confused, and strangely pleading. For a long moment, I simply stared at it, my chest tightening. It wasn't evil. It wasn't cursed. It wasn't here for revenge. It was just trying to survive. The elders approached slowly, leaning on their sticks, their faces a blend of fear and embarrassment. One of them, Mzanjuro, cleared his throat. We thought the spirits were angry," he murmured. "We thought your mother's words brought misfortune." My eyes flicked to Mama, who stood a few feet behind me, hands clasped, avoiding my gaze. The villagers shifted uncomfortably, as if waiting for me to confirm or deny their beliefs. "It isn't a spirit," I said quietly. "It was caught in a hunter's trap long ago. The pain made it violent. It came here because it smelled livestock and because the forest gave it nowhere else to go." Whispers spread through the crowd, relief mixed with shame. "So, the curse?" someone asked. "There was never a curse," I answered, though deep inside, I knew pain had cursed us all in its own way. Sefu, who had traveled early that morning after hearing rumors about the creature, stepped forward holding his tools. "If you release the trap," he told me, "I can help you remove the metal, but it will be dangerous." I nodded. "I'll do it." Mama gasped. "Kato, no, it might kill you." I turned to her slowly. "Ma, it could have killed us all, but it didn't, not yet. Fear makes us do stupid things. Maybe it's time we stop being afraid." Tears filled her eyes again, but she didn't argue. Together, Sefu and I approached the creature's trapped leg. The villagers held their breath. The beast growled low, its muscles tensing as I reached for the rusted metal. My hands trembled. This was the closest I had ever been to it, close enough to smell the earthy scent of its fur, to see the pain etched into its body. "It's okay," I whispered, though I wasn't sure who I was reassuring, the creature or myself. With Sufu's guidance, we pried the clamp open. The metal screeched, the creature roared, and for one terrifying second I thought it would lunge, but instead, it staggered back, limping away from us, pausing only once to look at the crowd. Its eyes, softer now, almost calm, then it disappeared into the forest. Free at last. A long silence followed. Then, slowly, people turned to me, not with fear, not with suspicion, but with something new. Respect. Mama broke through the crowd and threw her arms around me, sobbing into my shoulder. "My son, my brave boy, I am so sorry." I held her tightly, feeling years of pain melt away. "And I forgive you, Ma," I whispered. "We all make mistakes." The village buzzed with relief and gratitude, and word of what happened spread quickly. Days later, scholarship officers came to see the young mechanic who saved a village with his mind. They offered me a place in the engineering program, full sponsorship, as I stood at the edge of the village, preparing to leave for the city. My family gathered around me, smiling through tears. This time, there were no angry words, no accusations, only pride, hope, and love. I glanced back one last time, not as an outcast, but as the son who had returned, healed what was broken, and finally found his place.